Hello, everyone. Good evening. Welcome to this wonderful program. I'm really excited about it. My name is Dr. Tatachi Egwu, the host of Mediascope. I'm also part of the South Broward alumni chapter of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated, and that is the entity that is putting on this wonderful, wonderful program tonight. Okay, you asked for it again. We've done these financial workshops before, and you said, "Oh, we wish we could have one again." And here we are. We're having one again. So thank you so much to the South Broward Alumni Chapter, the committee putting this on, which is the Finance Committee, I believe. Michelle Edwards-Colley will correct me on that. And let me bring her on. Tonight we have the wonderful, the honorable Michelle Edwards-Colley, who is our financial guru and financial expert tonight. Michelle, how are you?
Hi, good evening, Dr. Tachi. How are you?
Oh,
And
I'm
it's actually the
fantastic.
economic development.
Okay, that's what I wanted to know. I wasn't sure. So it's economic development, and thank you for correcting me. This is a program of South Broward Alumni Chapter of Delta Sigma Theta and economic development. So what are you going to help us with tonight? We did this before, right? And people have been begging for us to come back.
Yes,
So
they
what are we doing
have.
tonight?
We're crushing debt, Dr. Tachi. We're crushing debt.
Uh-oh,
It's time to be debt
uh-oh,
free.
crush it. So she's going to show us how we can crush debt. And I mean, I think this is a perfect time to be talking about it because it's just after the holidays. Many of us have overspent. Many of us have probably put ourselves further into debt, and we're trying to find out how to crush that little bit of debt that we've incurred during the holidays. So I think this is a really poignant conversation for this time of year.
I
Fantastic.
agree.
So
I feel
shall we
like a
go
lot of
ahead?
a
Sorry.
lot of people have created New Year's resolutions or put crushing their debt or being debt free on their vision board. So we're here to give you a few strategies on various ways to crush debt.
I love that. I love crushing debt. And I can't wait to share with you all, and Michelle can't wait to share with you all how we can start to crush that debt. So we've got people that are joining us on different ends. We've got some folks over on YouTube. So thank you to all of you out there in YouTube land. And of course, those of you on Facebook Live, thank you so much for joining us. We are honored that you are here tonight. So we're actually going to get started with our line of questioning. Shall we? You ready?
I'm ready. Let's go.
Okay. Let's go. Let's bop, hit it. Let's make it work. So I'm really interested in, could I have the first question, MC? Sorry, Curtis. I call him MC on my show. So Curtis Brooks Media Productions is actually running the lower thirds and the titles and everything tonight. So thank you so much, Curtis. We appreciate you. So what we want to talk about first is what is the first step in analyzing your debt? How do we even start?
So, Dr. Tachi, it's really important that we start at the very beginning. And the very beginning is knowing how much do you owe. So that doesn't mean just having a guesstimate, but it's actually figuring out how much do I owe, writing down every single debt that you have, credit card debt, student loan debt, your mortgage, your car loan, any personal debt, any payday loans, any type of consumer or mortgage debt that you have. You're going to write everything down and put a list of the total balances, the amount that you owe. If you're past due on the loans, you can even put how much your interest rate is, so you have an idea how much you're actually paying on interest, how much you're actually paying on interest on those loans and those credit cards. So you get an idea of how much you're paying in the long run. So the key is to look at those overall, your total balances. You also need to look at your income coming in. So in the process of doing this, you're going to create a budget, or what I call a spending plan, because that's the only way you're going to know what you have left to be able to pay off the debts. But the very first step is looking at your total debts.
And I like the word spending plan because budget for so many people is such a dirty word. People hate the word budget. So when you say spending
Yes.
plan, it has less of an impact. I love that. So I do have a sub question to this. Why do you think people don't write things down?
So sometimes we have a put our head in the sand syndrome, meaning that I know I owe a lot, or I know I have 3 or 4 cards. They might add up to $2,000, but then when you really pull out the statements, the credit card statements, as well as your mortgage statement, everything, you realize exactly how much you owe. And so it's just sometimes seeing it in person, seeing it live, written down on paper. Now I'm talking about putting it on an app or putting it in your, or putting it on your phone notes. I'm talking about grabbing pen and paper and letting it sink in that I owe this much money. Dr. Tachi, did I lose you?
Yes. Oh,
Okay.
no, I'm here.
There you are. Okay.
I'm here.
So
Okay,
I
yes.
think that's part of it, is that the key to why people end up not looking at it is because if I don't look at it, maybe it'll go away, but that's not realistic, right? And so psychology tells us that we have to face what we need to resolve, because if you don't face it, you're not going to resolve it.
So it won't work just to ignore it then.
No, and I think, that's what we found from some of the other Facebook events that we did. Like we did one on budgeting, and we talked about that. Like if you don't sit down and look at how much you have coming in and what your total expenses are, you're not going to be able to plan. And that's why I call it a spending plan. Is I want to be able to spend money, but I need to know exactly where I'm spending it.
Very, very good information. I'd want to take a break and say, for those of you that are just joining now, welcome to the program. This is the program of the South Broward Alumni Chapter of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. This is the Economic Development Committee that is putting together Crushing Debt. We are trying to crush debt this year. 2020 vision is for us to get rid of that debt for now and beyond. My name is Dr. Tatachi Egwu, the host of Mediascope, and also part of the South Broward Alumni Chapter of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. I am joined by another member of South Broward Alumni Chapter, SBAC, the Honorable, and I keep feel Michelle Edwards Colley. And
I know you make me feel like a judge. You make me feel like a judge, Dr. Tachi, but yes, I'm a certified financial coach, and I'm here to help. Let's crush this debt in 2020. If your vision is to get rid of debt, let's talk about those strategies.
Absolutely. Let's make it work. And so let's move on to the next question. And let me say this, for those of you who have any questions, either on YouTube or on Facebook Live, please ask questions. We are so amenable to taking them, and we're happy to answer them at any point. Don't feel you have to wait till a certain point in the program. Feel free to ask them at any time, and we will, as they come, take your questions. So in the meantime, if Curtis, if you could put up question 2 so we may see. So let's talk about strategies. We've been talking about crushing debt, and somebody is saying, great, how do I do that? What are some strategies you can give us to work on crushing our debt?
So one of the first strategies that I want to discuss is called the snowball effect. So what you're going to do is you're going to list all of your debts, and the snowball effect, the debt snowball says that you have to put every single debt, start with the lowest balance first. So if I have 5 cards and the initial balance on the lowest balance on one card is $300, I'm going to put that $300. I'm going to put how much I have to pay on that. And I'm going to also list the interest rate, because again, I want to focus on what that number is. And then the second debt could be that I owe $500. So I go from $300 to $500 minimum payment, and then the next one is $1,000, another one is $1,500, and then the last one is $2,000. So in all of those debts, $300, $500, $1,000, $1,500, and $2,000. Each of those have minimum payments. When you do your spending plan, if you've got $100 left over, what you're going to do is you're going to take that $100 and you're going to apply that $100 to the lowest balance first. So if my minimum payment on the $300 card is only, and there we have an example. So on that particular one, if your minimum payment, we're looking at this particular one, credit card number 1 is at $252 owed, and your minimum due is $56. Your extra amount every month is $200. You're going to take the $200 along with the $56, and you'll be able to pay that credit card off the very first month. The next month, you're going to take your extra $200 plus the $56 that you were paying for the minimum payment on that credit card, and place the $68 that you're paying on the hospital bill. So the total of those bills of the amount you're paying that month actually comes up to $324. So within about 2 months, you would have paid off the hospital bill. And you keep adding the amounts. So now your next largest bill on this particular scenario is a car loan for $16,900. So now you're going to take the $324 plus your car loan and $717 into $16,900. So when you take that 700 and now you've only been, your minimum payment's only $393, correct? Everybody following me?
Okay.
And what you're going to do is you're going to take that 16,000, and when you divide it by 717, you will have paid off your car in 23 months. Simply by sending an extra. If you would have just kept sending that 393, then that debt would take a longer time to be paid off, because maybe it's a 4-year or 5-year loan. Now you turn around and your student loans that are $33,000 and you've only been sending $385. Now you take the 717 plus the 385, you're sending $1,100 a month to your student loans, whereas before you were only sending $385. The key to the debt snowball method, and I'm going to go a little bit slower and explain it again, but the key to it is you always leave enough in your spending plan for the minimum that's due. The extra amount that's due, you take it and pay it on that debt, every line debt, until it's paid off. And then you take the amount that you were originally sending for that minimum due and you keep, and so it becomes a snowball because the amount that you're paying keeps adding up and getting bigger and bigger. The key why Debt Snowball works, and I've used Debt Snowball to pay off my own debts years ago. The key why it works is because you get motivated when you see those debts start to go away. So just like you got rid of the credit card debt, that may have been a credit card you're paying $56 a month and you're not seeing a dent in the balance because that's just the minimum payment. When you start to send extra, now you see that debt decreasing and being eliminated. It gives you motivation to keep paying off the debts because you're seeing an end result quickly. The more that you have extra, so what I tell people is that there's other ways that you can make extra income. And Dr. Tasha, you and I were talking about this the other day. You know, you can have
and we're going to get into
side hustles, and yeah, we're going to get into that. But there's different ways to make extra money. Any extra money in your spending plan needs to go to your debt snowball to get rid of your debts quicker. Now, there's also another method called a debt avalanche. And the debt avalanche is the same thing as a debt snowball, but instead of using your smallest balance first, you actually list the balances by the highest interest rate. So if you're very interest rate conscious of how much you're spending in interest, then that could be another option for you. But you might not see the results as quickly as you would on a typical debt snowball process. So I know we've got questions from that because I went over that fairly quickly. I can take it a little bit slower.
All right, well, let's go to the room then. We've got 2 rooms to go in. Let's start with YouTube. YouTube, we've got a bunch of people there. Adrienne Williams, welcome. She's a member of South Broward. She says hello, and she's asked people to introduce themselves. She's also part of the Economic Development Committee. So thank you so much for being here. Teresa Sands, welcome. The co-chair, okay.
Chair.
Okay, thank you. Sorry, didn't mean to cut you off. Shari Dean, welcome. Thank you for being here. Johande, or I think Johande Serrano, thank you for being here, says found out about this on Facebook, so thank you. Dee Bruley, Janice Montesine, Mary Green, Nikki, there's so many people on YouTube. Thank you so much for being here. And please, if you have any questions, be sure to ask. We will go ahead and answer them. Now, let me hop on over to the Facebook Live side. Darmichelle Moore, hello, how are you? She says, I pay the entire credit card balance every month. Well, good for you, Darmichelle. That is excellent. Let me go ahead and say hello to Carlene Jules. Prude Asor, welcome. Thank you for being here. Diamond Howard, good evening to you. Taryn Cox, hello. Cassandra shared the stream. We appreciate that. Please feel free, if you find value in this, please go ahead and bless your contacts with this as well on both YouTube and Facebook. And you can also share on other social platforms. Angelique Clark, welcome. Carlene Jules, and I said, hey, Norma English, and everybody else joining. There's so many people, it's hard to name each one, but we appreciate appreciate you being here. So let me hop on over to what Darmichelle Moore says. She pays the entire credit card balance each month. And good for you, Darmichelle. But then there are some people that are saying, where do you want me to get this money to pay extra and to snowball or have a snowball fight? Where do you want me to get this from? Are you there? No, we can't hear you. Okay, so stand by. She's having a little bit of technical difficulties. You hear us though, yes? Okay, I'm taking it she does hear us. So she's having a little bit of technical difficulties. When you are able to come back in, keep talking. If I don't hear you after a while, I'm going to ask you to go out and come back in. I'm not sure if it could be your headphones. You can, if need be, you can remove your headphones and see if that works. So yeah, a little bit of technical difficulties, but that's what happens when you are dealing with technology. Once again, we'll introduce ourselves. For those of you who just may be coming in, my name is Dr. Chitachi Egwu. I am the host of Mediascope, and I am also part of the South Broward Alumni Chapter. This is a program called Crushing Debt, a program put together by the Economic Development Committee of the South Broward Alumni Chapter of Delta Sigma Theta. So we thank so much. I want to say thank you to President Kim Gaines. Thank you so much for all of your support in this. Thank you to the committee. The chair is Michelle Edwards-Colley, and Adrian Williams is the co-chair of Economic Development. Also, thank you to the members, those of you that are here. And as you know, we will have a special code word that will be coming up soon in the middle and at the end that you'll need to know to prove that you were here. Fantastic. Is Michelle there, Curtis?
Yeah, sure. So I'll pull her up right now. Put her on the screen here.
Can you hear me, Curtis?
We can. You're on right
Curtis,
now.
are you hearing me?
You're on right
Okay.
now.
Perfect. Hi. Sorry, I don't know what happened.
Fantastic. Hey, no, that's okay, because, you know, technology likes to make us look foolish, but we're not going to let you make us look foolish, technology. We're going to keep going. Showed you.
So,
all right.
So the
Go ahead.
question, I think the question was that where do you find the extra funds to have the snowball fight?
Please tell me,
Right.
where can we have these funds to do the snowball fights?
So the key is to looking at places in your spending plan where you can adjust your funds. So what happens when you have, you know, are there places where you can reduce your eating out? Make sure that at the same time you're doing all of this, that you're not using the cards. You can't continue to pay them off and go back and use them again. So you've got to look at your income as it relates to eating out. I'm not saying that you can't eat out, but you need to look at how much you're spending and eating out, and is that some place that you can cut? Another place where we tend to spend more money or don't plan for it is when it comes to Christmas time and uniforms for the children. We have to use the funds, but are we budgeting accordingly for it? The other thing is what I call the side hustle. You make extra money. There's things that are around your home that you can sell. My daughter just found all her prom dresses. She's graduated from high school 2 years ago, and she pulled out all these dresses she used for homecoming and prom. And I'm like, you know what? Let's sell them on Poshmark. I'm like, I'm not just going to donate them to Goodwill, or if I am going to use like maybe a charity that wants prom dresses for low-income families. But if we decide to sell them, we can sell them on Poshmark, and that extra money I would earmark specifically towards paying off my debt. I think that when we focus where the money is going, you'll see that you have room in your spending plan to apply towards your debt instead of maybe, I don't go out to eat 4 times a month. I just go out to eat twice, or making sure that I have snacks, or I take my lunch. Taking your lunch is huge. If you're spending $7 to $10 a day on eating lunch, right there, you've got $10 times 5, you're spending $50. Maybe you only eat out once for your side days, and so you now are saving $40 times 4. You've now got $160 towards that debt snowball, instead of spending $40 for lunch. So it's not about totally eliminating, because it's just like a diet. If I totally eliminate soda, that's when I really want soda more. So it's the same thing. If I say I'm not going to eat out at all, then that's when I really want to go out to eat. Or I'm not going to eat lunch out, that's when I really want, everybody's inviting you. Hey, you want to go to lunch with me to the pizza place? You want to go here. No, I brought my lunch today, or I'll be glad to, eat lunch with you here. So just start planning, and if you set your goals, you'll see that you can achieve them. But the key is setting them and looking at all those places in your budget. Everybody's got somewhere where they can save.
Absolutely, absolutely, and those are great suggestions. Taking your lunch. They're not sponsoring this broadcast, so I won't say their names. But one of my favorite places to grocery shop has wonderful frozen meals that you can heat up and make a bunch of it and take with you, and it's good. Restaurant quality. So you could think about that. Think about your meal planning at the beginning of the week if this is something you do. And then, take that with you everywhere. Don't try to keep up with the Joneses, especially when the Joneses are not in your predicament. But worry about how you can lower that. And then you talked about reselling, selling on Poshmark. I am a Posher. I totally believe in Poshmark. It has really done wonders in terms of getting me some extra money. And there are other ones besides Poshmark. You could do eBay. You could do Mercari. You could do OfferUp, Letgo, Depop. There are a whole bunch of ThreadUp. There are a whole bunch of places where you can do reselling. You can thrift. You can have actually thrifting parties. There are a lot of different things you could do. And if I had mentioned this to Michelle yesterday, that if you guys are interested, just as an idea, we could actually do that as a, kind of the side hustle thing to crush your debt. Talk about side hustle. So if anybody's interested in that, make sure you put that in the chat. So that's something we could talk about at another
We could
point
make that
in time.
another Facebook Live. Yes, because I could do that 1 hour too. So let's keep talking about some more strategies.
Absolutely. Let's do it. Let's do it. Okay, let me see if we have any questions from the room. Erica Turk-Moore, welcome. Thank you for being here. Collis Bell says she is tuned in, and not only is she tuned in, she's taking notes. And Brand Savant is here.
Awesome.
Welcome, Brand Savant. That is my friend from Winnipeg, Manitoba. I think you're from Winnipeg. I know you're from Calgary, Alberta. I'm sorry. All the way from Calgary, Alberta. Thank you for listening. Robin Ming Beauclair,
Wow.
thank you. She says she loves the snowball strategy. Thank you so much. Robin Lawrence is from West Palm Beach alumni. We are so happy to have you here. Says it's a great topic. And yes, so please continue with the comments, continue with any questions. So seeing that there are not any immediate questions, we're going to continue with our line of questioning. So Curtis, I'll ask for the next question, please. All right, so what I want to do is talk student loan debt now. That probably, and you can confirm numbers-wise because this is your area, that's probably next to credit card debt, the largest amount of debt that Americans have currently in the US, right? So what are the numbers when it comes to student loans, and how do we crush these numbers? It seems so impossible, but you're going to tell us there's a way, right?
There is a way, and I have seen people come out of student loan debt in only 2 months. Again, it goes back to being focused on eliminating the debt. So let's talk about it. There's $1.4 trillion in student loan debt at the end of 2019. In 2006,
Trillion with a T.
with a T. In 2006, it was 400 billion. So, yes, in a matter of 13 years, we have more than tripled the student loan debt. And why is that? Are there more students going back to school? Or is it just that we're acquiring more debt to go back to school? Of course, the expenses related to your tuition expenses are higher than they were. But I also feel that a lot of times people are using those funds to live on. And I get it. You have to, while you're advancing yourself, you're doing that. However, let's stay focused on the fact that you do have to pay this money back. When you have to pay it back, I'm in graduate school, so I'm looking at my student loan debt and saying, okay, how am I going to make sure that I can get rid of that at the end of the time? Understand a few things. One, when you are in school and you're in deferment, the interest is still accruing. So you may have borrowed $10,000 to pay your tuition, but the interest is still accruing. So when you're not paying it because you're in school, it's still accruing. Turn from 10,000, 10,500. 11,000, and it quickly adds up. The second thing to understand is, okay, so I came out of school and I need time to find a job. And once I found that job, I said, well, I'm still trying to get my, get all my things in place, and they grant you what's called a deferment. I mean, a forbearance, because you can't afford to make the payments right away. During forbearance time, guess what's happening? The interest is accruing. So it's important that if you can make the minimum payment, if you are working, there are programs such as an income-based repayment plan that you can get in. So you would have to contact your student loan servicer. You're going to provide them with your tax returns, pay stubs, and they're going to review based on your income the monthly payment that you can afford. What I tell people is, along with this snowball, you should include your student loans, because once you've gotten rid of your revolving debt, such as credit card debt, you take that extra and you're paying it on the student loans. Don't just send the minimum on your student loans. Sending the minimum means you're paying more in interest. The other thing is, if you're in a service field, such as a teacher, you work in a community organization, a nonprofit, you work in a church, there are certain fields that you are allowed to get a special accommodation. And what that means is that you pay for 10 years, and after that, the rest of your student loan debt is forgivable. It's forgiven. So during that 10-year period, you have a certain amount you have to pay every single month. Time you pay that for 20 minutes, that is doable. And a lot of no program, so it's important for you to ask your servicer. Some of these programs are not available for private student loans. They're only available for government-sized student loans. That number I gave you before was all student loans. It included government and private loans.
Michelle, I'm going to ask you to repeat what you said because you were breaking up.
Oh, okay. Is this better?
So if you could, yeah, you're fine now, but you were breaking up. So if you could repeat what you said just a little bit back about student loans, it started to break up.
Okay. So the thing about student loans, did you hear the part where I was saying that you have when you're in school, and you're in deferment, your interest is accruing?
Yes. Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes. So
All
just
right.
keep going
So
from
just the
there.
last
It
part.
broke up.
Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect. So your interest keeps accruing. The same thing happens once you graduate and you end up putting your loan in forbearance. The interest will still keep accruing. So the key part to student loan is understanding that the interest will continue to accrue. As that interest accrues, you have got to look at what the minimum the student loan servicer is requiring and try to send more. So the debt snowball works the same way for credit cards. Once you remove the card, then you start paying off the loan. Also, an extra percentage, just like you would on a car loan, just like you would on a mortgage loan, you can send extra to your student loans. The other thing that may have been broken up, I was explaining that if you are a charity, nonprofit, the church, if you're in the educational field, if you're a teacher, there are certain occupations that would actually qualify for a special student loan payment plan where you have 10 years, and once you make 120 payments, they will look at your income. Student loan servicer will look at all information, and they'll say, based on that, you have 120 payments. After you make those 120 payments, the rest of your student loan debt is forgivable. So it's important that if you're in some of those service industries, that you are reaching out to your service loan provider and finding out how to get on those type of programs. The other thing about student loans is that you have to understand that student loans cannot be included in a bankruptcy. If you don't pay your student loans, they will garnish your paycheck. They can garnish your paycheck, just like the IRS would. The other thing is that even if you retire and you still owe student loans and you're not paying them, they'll take that money out of your Social Security check. The student loans will get paid, so it's important for you to focus on trying to get rid of that debt as soon as possible.
So, go ahead.
I was going to say, and the one other thing is, when you're looking at based on your income, let's say you come out of school, you're not making as much as you can. It's an entry position, and in that entry level position, provide the student loan service income, your tax returns and pay stubs, and they will come up with what's called an income-based repayment. When they calculate your income-based repayment, it's usually a much lower number. As you start to make more, start to save more. Make sure that that's applying to the principal balance, because remember, even though you're on an income-based repayment plan, the interest is still accruing.
Accruing. Okay.
So it's very important to understand that that's student loan debt is no way if you don't focus on getting rid of it, just like the credit card debt.
Fantastic, fantastic. There are two questions. Before I get to the magic word for South Broward Sorors, let's take these two questions. So Kelly Allen asks, do the 120 student loan payments have to be consecutive?
Yes, yes, you cannot miss a payment. It is my understanding that under that plan, if you miss a payment or there's something, that happens during that 120 days, 120 payments, you have to go back to the service provider and your 120 payments may start over again. So that's what I understand. I'm not on that program because I actually work for a bank, and so I don't qualify for that. But that's my understanding as it relates to the student loan special income plan.
Okay, great. Thank you for that, and thank you for that question, Kelly. Taryn Cox asks, and I think we're going to get to this. You can determine that. I've heard that it's better to have credit cards than not to have credit cards. Is that true?
Oh, that's a great question. So I'm a big believer that you actually don't need any debt. There was a time when you needed a credit card just to rent a car or traveling purposes, but really and truly, you can use your debit card for everything nowadays. I mean, there are certain credit card rental car companies that use a debit card. I do have credit cards, but I don't carry large balances. I usually pay them off once a month, but that's just my personal opinion. You do use credit to help build your credit score. You do use credit scores to purchase a home, that's looked at to purchase your car, but you don't actually need a credit card to do any of those things. There are so many other programs that we won't even get into those programs here on this particular workshop, but there are programs that allow for alternative credit so that you don't actually have to have a credit card. So you can get a mortgage with a 0 credit score.
Wow. That's a whole other live stream altogether, and I'd love to tackle that. Wow. Okay, so Nicole Rowe Grovesner, who is a soror, hello, welcome. I don't know exactly what you're talking about, but she's talking about a tactic of paying off your mortgage in 7 years, if you've heard of that. I don't know if there's a specific name for it, but...
Yes. The Mortgage Accelerator Program. And so we haven't touched on mortgages yet. I think that's next on the agenda, Sorority.
Okay.
You want me to go right into that now?
Before we go into that, let's hold off on that. So, Soror Nicole, we will get to your question in just a moment. Let me just say that members of the South Broward Alumni Chapter, to show that you were here today and in full form, you are going to use this code word. And the code word is, Michelle?
Oh.
You don't remember. Oh, okay. Snowball. Snowball. So if you are here today, you will use the code word snowball. Soror Kelly Allen will instruct you as to where that goes. You're going to email it, so you'll be instructed as to where that goes and who to email it to. So once again, the code word is snowball. We will repeat it again at the end, in addition to some other goodies that we have for you. Let's take a break to say hello, welcome. We're so happy to have you here this evening, everybody, in Facebook Live land and in YouTube land. My name is Dr. Tatachi Egwu. I am the host of Mediascope, also a part of the South Broward Alumni Chapter. We are talking crushing debt with financial guru Michelle Edwards-Colley. Let's keep going. You ready, Michelle?
Yes, I'm ready.
Okay, fantastic. Now, if in case you notice, guys, there is a little bit of a delay between myself and Michelle, so, but no big deal. We're making it work. So, Curtis, could I please have the next question on the list? Oh, sorry. There we go. So this is kind of a subset to what we were talking about before with student loans. What are the differences between
Yes.
private and public government loans in terms of the way they're paid back? Or is there a difference?
So is it because government subsidized loans and even the loans that are offered directly through your school, it's important. And the reason that I think we talked about this question is a lot of times you will be getting 2 or 3 statements from each servicer. So you may have private loans that were not government subsidized, such as Sally, right? Sally Mae is a servicer, and that's usually those are government loans.
Okay.
Your private loans, and then some are directly through you. So a lot of times you could be getting statements from all these different loan servicers and think that you only have your one set of loans, because that's the other thing with student loans. You can actually consolidate them and put them all into one. When you do a debt consolidation with your student loans, it usually makes the payment much less and you can pay it off faster. But you cannot consolidate private loans, government loans. So the government-backed student loans cannot be combined with the private. So that's why it's important to understand your mix. It's almost like a portfolio of investment property. In this case, it's not an investment. It's not an asset. It's a debt. So you have to look at what's your mix of your student loan portfolio. So for lack of a better word, because it's not really portfolio, it's debt that you owe. But looking at how do I get rid of all of this debt? And making sure that you're paying because it's real easy to forget about one of them and, hurt your credit score in the end.
Fantastic. Wonderful. And could I please have question 3.2, please, the next one, Curtis? Okay, now this is really interesting.
Yeah.
What options do you have if you've been paying your student loan and then somehow you become disabled and you're not able to work in the field that you went to school for that was supposed to be making you the money to pay things back? What are your options if you become disabled?
You need to contact your student loan servicer and they will review. You have to provide a doctor's note. You provide, and not just a doctor's note saying I'm disabled. They want detailed information. Once you provide that information, student loan servicer will grant you what's called a disabled deferment. So you don't have to make payment while they review your disability. So while it's being reviewed, you don't have to make payments. However, at the end of that period, depending on your disability being a permanent disability, they will actually totally discharge the debt. So I have a client that occurred to. She was actually permanently disabled of a stroke. I told her, you need to contact them, see what you can do, because there was no way. She was now on disability income. She can't afford a student loan payment. The student loan payment was almost as much as what she was bringing home in disability income. So she was able to contact them, provide them all the documentation they wanted from her doctors. And from there, they granted her the 2-year disability deferment. And she actually texted me, not even the full 2 years have passed, and they went ahead and discharged it based on I get ongoing doctor's reports. Based on the realize that she is innately disabled, and they discharged all her debt. All of her student loan debt.
Wow. 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 Okay, so this is to say that there are options.
Yes. Yes, there are options.
Okay, great. Fantastic. All right. So let's go back to the room because I know there are some questions in the room and we definitely want to get some. Let me check YouTube first to see if there are questions. Now, there are two. We're going to get to debt consolidation, people. Somebody on YouTube and somebody on Facebook Live has asked about debt consolidation. We are going to get to that. Don't worry. Mary Green on YouTube asked this. Will paying off all your debts decrease your credit score? I was told that some years ago when I started closing accounts. So I think here the difference is closing credit accounts versus paying off your debt, correct?
That's correct. So when you actually close those accounts yourself, those accounts show up as account closed by borrower, and that will hurt your creditly, because it's as if, well, I'm having a problem making these payments, or I've now paid account off and I want it closed. You don't have to necessarily close these accounts that you're paying off. You can leave them open and use them as you want to, but I say that you can try to keep them at a zero balance, where you can, whatever you use, you're paying off at the end of that month, or you have a plan in place to go ahead and pay them back off.
Okay.
Understand that, yes, what could happen too is that you pay some of these debts off, and because you may have been late before or other things, those credit card providers could close the accounts as well, because they're now at a point where, hey, they were running into a problem. It seems like now they've been able to pay us off. Michelle's now paid us off. We don't want to take a risk that we lend her money again and she starts paying us late again. So that's why you'll see some credit cards could close your account. It depends on your individual situation. I can't really answer that question, but a lot of times you can see that if you've been carrying balances and having slow pays and paying really late, or they look at your overall income and say, you know what, she can't continue paying hard even after, you got it now to zero. So that could lower your score, but it would be a temporary lowering. Once your balances are now at zero, it would help to bring your score up in the end, if there is open.
Well, it just seems
That
like
answers
you.
your question. You
I'm
can give
sorry.
us another. Mhm.
Yes. If that doesn't answer your question, please expand upon that. But it just seems like you can't win. Is there an answer? It seems like darned if you do, darned if you don't.
So I think the number one key, I've not said the whole night, and we're already 45 minutes into this broadcast, is that you must pay everything on time. There are so many different factors that occur with your credit report, but paying on time, the balance to the limit, the type of accounts you have, the mix of your credit, if you have installment loans, card loans, all of those things affect your credit. So, but paying on time and the balance to the limit are the highest amounts. They're
Okay.
about 65% of your credit score. So if you're having a problem paying, this is why when you get into like a debt snowball and now you're paying everything on time because your minimum amount, you'll see your go up. So them closing cards and be small.
Thank you.
But
Thank you very much. Go ahead.
do we still have a delay?
Yeah, there is a
Do we
delay.
still have a delay? Okay.
Yes, we still have a delay. So I wait and then wait for you to answer.
Okay, no problem. I'll take the next question.
Okay, so let's move on to the next question. Let's see. People are wanting to hear about these mortgage strategies because it's a big amount of debt that a lot of us have. So we'll jump to that in just a moment. But I want to get Erica Turk Moores, who happens to be a fellow Bison. Welcome, Erica. HU, If you've been out of school for several years, but you then start working in a public interest job, can you apply for loan forgiveness? This is Erica's question.
Yes, you can, Erica. Yes. Go ahead and contact your servicer and let them know that you're now working in that field, and advise them, ask for advice on how you can get into the student loan forgiveness program.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you so much. And I just want to add something little. Those of you who know me know that in addition to doing media, I am also a professor, and I love education. But this is what I tell students and people who come to me and say, oh, I want to work on this, I want to get a PhD. I ask them why. So I think you need to determine whether or not the extra education you're going for is 100% necessary for what it is you want to do. Because being called Dr. Such and Such is not a reason to go back and further in your education. You need to have a solid reason. Reason being, for every tenure track, and this is talking about academe, for every tenure track position, there are probably 1,000 people who graduate with doctorates that want those positions. So there are not enough positions for everybody who graduates with doctorates. And let's be real, education is a business. So of course they're going to let you get a degree. But what you're not going to know afterwards is you may not have a way to get into that field because there may not be anything, or you may need to move to Iowa or Utah or someplace you may not want to be in order to make that happen. So you have to think long and hard before going and incurring the extra expense. And then also, you shouldn't have to pay. If you've done what you're supposed to do for like master's and doctorate, look and see if you can get assistantships where you have remission of tuition and you don't have to pay. So that's just my advice as a member of the Academy. Don't take on extra student debt that you don't need, because I'm telling you, at these schools, they're not going to tell you that. So I'm telling you that. In fact, I'm offering, if anybody's looking at getting further to higher education, please contact me before you do. I will give you the real. All right, let's keep going. Can I have the next question, please, Curtis? That would be 4. Yes. All right. So we're getting into medical debt now. This is probably, if we're talking about credit cards being number 1, student loan debt being number 2, I'm sure medical is not close to number 3. How can you crush medical debt?
So the key to crushing medical debt, number 1, and the medical debt could be medical collections that are on your credit. It could be co-pays that you've had to pay. Maybe you had a serious illness and your portion of that surgery was, thousands of dollars. And so you're making small payments. You need to include that medical debt on your debt snowball. You need to calculate how much you owe and divide it out. Get a minimum payment. It's important to at least talk to that medical collections company, see if it's something that you can dispute. If you didn't owe it and they were supposed to be covered by your insurance, dispute it. Work through that process to get rid of the medical debt. But at the same time, when you have the, that it's a legitimate medical expense, include it in that snowball. You must include it so that you can get rid of that debt.
Thank you. Thank you. Great advice. All right, so let's go back to the room before we go on with our line of questioning. We've got some, okay, Kelly Allen says this, that if you're a member of SBAC, you are going to email the secret word to sbac.economicdev@gmail.com. That is in the chat on Facebook. And Kelly, Sora Kelly, if you could please put that in the chat on YouTube, that would be helpful as well. So look in the chat for the email to email the secret word to, which I will say again at the end. And Erica Turkmore says, great news. So thank you to you, Michelle. And welcome, Lindell. Good to see you. Kaylin Jenkins has a question and asks this: when a retirement savings plan matures at age 59 and a half, are you required to roll it into an IRA, or is it 100% available penalty free?
That's a great question. And we're not really talking about retirement now. I would actually tell you to consult your tax advisor on that question to confirm exactly what you need to do. I don't want to give that advice at this time. So for the person who asked that question, I would recommend that you consult your tax advisor on what exactly you can do with that debt. I do understand what you can do, but I prefer to refer you to your tax advisor to make sure.
Good advice. And then Anisha Adams Watson asks this: I've saved money over the years to help pay my son's college expenses, but he's recently received a full scholarship. What can I do with the money to earn the most interest for him while he's in college?
Wow, that's great that he got a scholarship. And so there's so many different things that you can do. I don't know if that's in a 429 plan. So I'm not sure if the funds that you used were in a section 429 is what you use towards saving for college. So like the Florida prepaid. I'm not sure if that's what you have it in. If you do, you can use it towards his additional expenses because his scholarship may only cover tuition. But if it covers full room and board and everything else, I would recommend that you look at doing some type of investing, not just necessarily investing in stock, but I'm a big believer on real estate. So possibly take that and purchase a property, purchase, flex. I'm not sure how much money you have. I'm not sure. I can't answer, I can only give you what I would do depending on how much money I have. But possibly purchase an investment property that you would now have residual income coming in every month, and that him in a great position so that when he comes out of school, he's already got a property that's earning income for him. You do have to look at the tax ramifications for yourself. I'm not sure what your income limits are and where you are and how that would affect your own personal income. I don't know if you'd want to put the property in his name. So there's so many different things. I can't really answer that without knowing the total amount that you have in savings, but there are investment vehicles that you could use. And we would gladly have a Facebook Live as it relates to investments and maybe retirements. And those were the last two questions we got were based on that. And we do have some SARs that's their expertise.
Wow, it seems like we have a whole slew of possible Facebook Lives, or live streams, shall we say, Facebook Lives, YouTube Lives that we could get into. So, and that's an idea for the things you want to see. Just put them in the chat. Those are things that we could compile and talk about at a later time. And we would love your input, to be honest. So let's hop on over to, I'll get to ours in just a moment. And it seems, guys, that we're probably going to go a little bit over time because I do want to get in some of the other questions we have. Shari Dean on YouTube asks this: are AmeriCorps opportunities still viable options in supporting the propensity for loan payoff support or school loan payoff?
That is a great option, and I should have mentioned that on the student loan debt. So yes, that is a very good option. Thank you, Shari Dean, for mentioning that. So if you do student loans and you do AmeriCorps, you can actually get money on top of your salary that you're earning in AmeriCorps. At the end of your AmeriCorps service, you actually, and I believe there's Teach Corps and Teach America. There are a few different programs, and you would actually get funds towards your student loan debt. So if you have a student or if you are a student yourself right now, look into those programs that would definitely pay off your student loan debt. They don't pay it off, but they give you $2,000. I believe AmeriCorps is $2,000 or $2,500 towards your student loan debt every at the end of every cycle, which I believe is a year. I believe you put in there. Yeah, it just is 2,000. Okay.
Okay.
So I recommend AmeriCorps.
Okay. Fantastic. All right. Let's see. What is our next question, Curtis? If you could have that up, that would be so wonderful. Okay, so here we are. There are a whole bunch of people that asked about this. Here we are. What are the benefits and disadvantages to debt consolidation?
So the benefits, the benefits of debt consolidation, and as I'm using the term debt consolidation in a couple of ways. It would be if you looked at doing maybe a debt consolidation loan, or there's also debt settlement companies. So you've heard about companies that'll put all your debts into one payment. I know people that have taken out a home equity loan to pay off all of their debt, versus doing a debt snowball, versus doing, I call the longer way. Maybe even taking money from their 401 or retirement benefits. You get to sleep a little night. You're not as stressed out about it, but there are disadvantages. Some of the disadvantages could be that if you're not disciplined enough to understand that you've now paid and you re-incur more debt, now you've got the new credit cards that you paid off plus the new debt. So the credit card payments that you had from before, plus now you have a new debt that you must pay. If you're doing it from a 401k and you take it out, you could have tax ramifications. If you're doing a loan against 401k, they're going to automatically take it out of your. So you've got to make sure that if you use a consolidation loan, or some type of vehicle like that, that you are being consistent with not continuing to use those cards. Because if not, you're going to have the debt consolidation loan plus the card that you've now paid off, you use them again. So the key is I've been doing this for over 20 years. Everyone that I've seen do a debt consolidation loan, they've gone and used the cards again. But when you do the debt snowball, for something psychologically makes you understand, I've now paid these off, and there's something I just don't want to get that debt. I don't want to be on that road. But when you do it so easy, psychologically, you go out and use the cards again. So it's just
too easy.
There's something to be said about that. Yeah. Yeah. If you look at, if you have equity in your home and you want to do some kind of home equity loan, I mean, the interest that you're paying on that home equity loan could be tax deductible. So that's something to discuss with your tax advisor, but that's an option as well. Just make sure that you don't use the cards. That's the key. It's being disciplined, just like we would on a diet.
Wow. And we know how that works out for some of us. So
I'm more disciplined with my money than I diet. I'm going to work on that.
Wow. There we go. That's another thing to work on 2020. Maybe something for the physical and mental health committee to talk about. If we could,
Yes.
you know what? Could we skip to question 7? Because this is the 5th question I've seen about mortgage. So we're just going to skip to question 7.
Okay.
And this will probably be our last,
Yes.
besides maybe taking a few from the audience. So question 7, please, Curtis. All right. What are some ways to crush your mortgage?
Let's crush this mortgage. So you've got a mortgage, you own your home, you're paying every on your mortgage, you're paying on time, but you want to get rid of your mortgage debt. There are several ways. The first way could be to pay biweekly. So what does that mean? Biweekly payments mean that you end up making 26 payments a year, which is essentially one extra payment, because instead of making only 12 payments, you're actually making 13. Not all mortgage loan servicers allow biweekly payments. You must talk with your loan provider, the person who you have your mortgage with, and see if they allow biweekly payments. If they do, that's a great way to crush your mortgage debt. The second way is planning in your spending plan, creating in your spending plan budget for an extra payment a year. Paying one extra principal and interest payment per year will take a 30-year mortgage down to a 22-year mortgage. Just one extra per year. You get a tax refund, pay the extra. And you know that your mortgage interest and your property taxes are tax deductible. So if you're getting back a little bit, go ahead and earmark one payment at least going back towards your mortgage to get rid of your mortgage debt. The other thing that I've done is I set aside extra money every single month that I send on my principal. I do that on my car payment. And so that's another thing you can do on your mortgage payment. So you send extra. So in my mind, if my car payment is $400, I put $500. So I send an extra $100 every single month. And when I do those other strategies to make extra money, I'll take that money and I send extra as well. Do the same thing with your mortgage. The other thing is to look at your insurance and your taxes. Are there ways that you can lower your insurances? I've had clients call me and say, I want to refinance, Michelle. And I said, okay, let's take a look at everything. When I look at everything, it's not that they even made sense for them to refinance their mortgage, but they needed to possibly look at putting in impact glass, impact windows, different things that would reduce their insurance expense. And when they reduce that insurance expense, they take that extra money and apply it towards the mortgage balance. Whenever you're sending any kind of principal reduction payment, you must make sure that your mortgage company has reflected it properly. So you send in the payment. Sometimes that you call and ask them, hey, should I send it in 2 separate checks? Should I send it in 2 separate payments? Can I send one and you'll know to apply the rest? Because they may actually apply it towards your interest. So it's important that you make sure the payment that you send that was supposed to go to principal, that you look at your next month's mortgage payment and make sure that it did apply correctly. The last way is a question that someone mentioned earlier, which was the mortgage accelerator plan. So these were really popular like before the recession, and I see that they're coming back now because I have clients calling me and asking me about them. So what the Mortgage Accelerator plan was, it said that you would get a home equity loan and you pay all your debts from your home equity loan, and you send your actual direct deposit direct that home equity loan. So basically, you're using your home equity loan to pay all of your debts. I have not seen it actually help anybody pay off their mortgage, but it's just a way of funneling all your funds into one source, and that way whatever is left pays off the mortgage. So you don't actually have a mortgage, you have a home equity that could have an adjustable rate. And now that, so that's another thing, because you're going from possibly a fixed rate mortgage to that home equity loan under the Mortgage Accelerator. So that's something to look into. I would also advise you to talk with your tax advisor before you get into that Mortgage Accelerator program. Some of those Mortgage Accelerator programs have fees in order for you to do them. I've seen them as high as $3,500, where you could take that same $3,500 and pay down on your mortgage. So it's just something to look at and weigh all the pros and cons. But I have heard of people getting into the program, but nobody's ever said, Michelle, after I got into it, I paid it off. So, that's my opinion. That's just my opinion on it. I think that there are other ways, just like your debt consolidation, doing the debt snowball, other ways that you can, achieve the same result. May not be as fast, but you can definitely get rid of the mortgage. So the person who asked the Mortgage Accelerator, was that what you heard of, putting everything into a home equity loan? I'm pretty sure that's the one that you were thinking of. That's what I've heard of in the past.
It may be. You can let us know in the chat if that's the case, and I will relay that message. So it looks like Anisha Adams Watson says, thanks so much. My sorors are the best. So apparently you answered the question satisfactorily.
Okay, perfect.
Manita Foley Dean says, good stuff. Thank you. We try. Carlos Bell says, great information. Montoya Jackson says, great strategies. And Prude Source says, wow, that's really interesting. Tramika Wade, welcome back. Excuse me, I'm getting over bronchitis, so I don't want to be rude with the cough drop in my mouth, but just letting you all know. And yes, I think that is about it. We've come up at time. We're at 9:07. Thank you so much for being so gracious and giving us 7 minutes more of your time. Once again, this has been, we have some stuff that we have to cover before we finally sign off, but we want to say thank you to our Facebook Live family, to our YouTube family, to our entire social media family, because of course we blasted this all over social media, to President Kim Gaines of the South Broward Alumni Chapter, to the members of the South Broward Alumni Chapter, to members of other Delta chapters who joined us today, to you, Michelle Edwards-Colley, the chair of the Economic Development Committee, and to Adrienne Williams, who is the co-chair, and all the members of Economic Development. Thank you, Curtis Brooks from Curtis Brooks Media Productions. He's the one that's running all the bells and whistles, the names, the lower thirds, everything you see, that is him. So thank you. And we have actually some events that are coming up that we would love to see you all at. So in no particular order, actually, Curtis, do you mind putting them up on the screen, and I'll just read it from the screen. As we honor our founders in the can you keep up the flyers, please, so I can read it, MC Curtis? Thank you. So, and you can put the background too, if you want, the black background. So join us as we honor our founders at the 2020 Relay for Life, 22 Reasons to Fight for a Cure. This is May 29th, 2020, 6 p.m., Joseph C. Carter Park. You could join our team or you can donate, and our team is South Broward DST. Visit bit.ly/RFL_SBAC-DST. And could I have the next flyer, please? And if you don't remember all this, don't worry. You could go to dstsouthbroward.org and see all of these events there. guess what? Our Red Shoe Luncheon, which is the Biggity Bomb, which is awesome, is coming up. And this year's theme is Flashback to the 70s. That's happening Saturday, February 22nd, 2020, from 12 to 3 at the Bonaventure Resort and Spa. That is at 250 Racket Club Road in Weston, Florida. So even if you're not here, feel free to come down and join us. So the tickets are regular tickets are $65. Diva tickets are $85. There are going to be some fabulous gift baskets, and they are always fabulous. This is a do not miss event. Please join us for that. Once again, Saturday, February 22nd, 2020 at the Bonaventure Resort and Spa in Weston. And next flyer, please. It's behind this one. Okay, there we go. Okay, so looking for scholarship money? Well, we've got something for you. The South Broward Alumni Chapter of Delta Sigma Theta presents our 2020 scholarship. We are awarding $2,000 to a deserving male or female African-American high school senior. 2 scholarships are available, actually, so not just 1, but 2. This is the Brenda Gillis Educational Excellence Scholarship Award and the Linda Lockhart Scholarship Award. So in order to qualify, your student must be a graduating senior within the South Broward County boundaries. Griffin Road to the County Line Road, Atlantic Ocean to the Florida Everglades. So as long as you live within those confines, you are eligible. All you have to do is go to dstsouthbroward.org and download the application. Don't dally, though. Don't dilly-dally. The deadline is March 1st, and it'll be here before you know it. Next flyer, please. You got it, Curtis, the next flyer?
There was only 3 flyers.
Oh, I thought there was, okay. I'm like, next flyer, 3 flyers. Great. Okay, I thought there was one more. And Kelly, if for some reason we are missing one, please let us know. And guys, the best way to go ahead and find out about all our events is go to the website, dstsouthbroward.org. That will let you know all about this. So once again, could you bring Michelle back on with me, because I'd like to sign off with her if you don't mind. Once again, thank you so much for granting us, hey, we're just signing off, for granting us the license to come into your living rooms and into your homes and share this information with you. We really want you to win, which is why we provided this information tonight. Once again, on behalf of the South Broward Alumni Chapter of Delta Sigma Theta, thank you so much for joining us. Be blessed, walk good, and we will see you at the next Facebook Live / YouTube live stream, or at one of our many events. Thank you and have a great night.
Thank you, everyone.